Learn English through Stories G33 PDF. Adapted and modified by Kulwant Singh Sandhu. Contents: 1. The Bride Price Part 5. 2. Grammar page. 1. The Bride Price. Buchi Emecheta. Chapter 9. A Forced Wedding. On his way home after meeting the girls, Chike thought about Okuinene. How surprised and pleased she was when I told her about her examination results, he said to himself. Her success will make things easier for both of us. I must make sure she gets the teaching job she wants. The money will be a big help to her mother and brother, and I shall have time to decide between the oil company and the university. Father has promised to talk to Okonkwo, but I must say he's taking his time about it. Perhaps he's been waiting for the results of Akuina's examination, and if Okonkwo will agree to the marriage, if father will gladly pay £100, father can't easily afford it, and surely Okonkwo will be very glad to accept. It'll seem like a fortune to him. It was a very dark, moonless night. It was a night for murder, a night for fear. He stopped suddenly. He thought he heard someone calling his name. But when he lifted his lamp and looked around, he saw nothing except the black trees on each side of the path. The call came again. It was Okuina's voice. But that's impossible, thought Chike. She's safe in the dancing hut with Zik and her friends. My imagination is playing tricks on me. He walked faster, and his heart beat like a drum. Then he heard a gun. It was followed by another shot, and another and another. Ibiza people always fired guns on their wedding night. He heard wedding music too from the other side of the village. Why haven't I heard about this wedding, thought Chike. Well, I expect my sisters will tell me all about it when I get home. He went straight to his father's house to tell him the good news about Okuina's examination. I'm glad, my son, said Ofilu. And I have spoken to Okonkwo. What did he say, father? He didn't say no, and he didn't say yes, replied his father. We shall have to buy him. He wants to be a chief, and he'll use our money for that, but that means you will have to marry early, and I don't like that. Oh, father, Okuinene is not 16 yet. We can wait. She can take teacher training, or I can work with the oil company in Ageli. I don't mind what we do. But I do want her to leave her uncle's family. They are not kind to her. So I hear. I also heard that you knocked down Akaboshi a day or two ago. Yes, I did. He was hurting Okuinene. I had to stop him. Just then they heard more shots in the distance. The sounds of singing and dancing reached their ears. Who can be getting married on a night like this, said Ofilu. Suddenly Chike knew. He felt weak and sick. He almost fell to the floor. Holding tightly to the back of his father's big leather armchair, he whispered, I think that noise is coming from the Obidi family hut. I think they have kidnapped Okuinene for their son Akaboshi. Moving forward, Ofilu laid a strong hand on his son's shoulder, and Chike cried like a child. After their frightening experience in the dancing hut, the other girls ran home and told their parents what had happened. It was all so sudden. The lamps went out, somebody held the door shut, then the door was thrown open, and we all ran home. It was a strange, confused story, and their mothers decided to forget about it and let their men investigate it. When they felt better, the girls told their mothers about Okuina's examination. Everyone was very pleased. Let's go and congratulate her family, said Njibike, Okonkwo's first wife. So a small crowd arrived at Ma Blackie's hut. Please come in, said Ma Blackie. My daughter is still dancing, and my son is out playing, but do come in. Where did you say Okuinene was? Said Njibike sharply. She went to the dance. Then Ma Blackie saw Ogugua and the other girls. I thought she was with you. Njibike suddenly realized what had happened, and shouted for her husband. Okanpuo! Wake up! They have kidnapped our daughter. Wake up, everyone, wherever you are. Wake up, everyone in Ibiza. Girls, go and get the gong. The gong was large, shaped like a bell. When anyone hit it with a stick, it made a great deal of noise. As the first wife of the family, it was Njibike's duty to bang the gong. She had to tell the terrible news to the whole village. Now everyone was screaming and crying. They shall die for this, shouted Njibike's son Iloba. The noise was terrible. Ma Blackie cried and cried. They have kidnapped my daughter, she thought. Was it for this that I sent her to school, kidnap? The big boys went out to search for the kidnappers, and Ine and Indio stopped crying and followed them. Njibike with her gong led the women around the village. Who has stolen our daughter, gong? Come out and tell us, gong. But they knew it was useless. Akuinine had gone. The kidnapper had only to cut a piece of her hair, then the kidnapped girl belonged to him forever. He could force her to sleep with him, and if she was unwilling, his friends could hold her down. Perhaps that had already happened to Okuinine. Njibike shouted until her throat was sore. Okonkwo shouted until he felt thirsty. Then he sat down with a bottle of native whiskey for company. It was much later, in the middle of the night, when 3 men from the Obidi family came to him. Your daughter Akuinine is sleeping peacefully, they said, on the bed that we made specially for her and her husband Akaboshi. There was nothing Okonkwo could do. The whiskey had made him sleepy and confused. Together he and the Obidi men agreed on a small bride price for Akuinine. After all, the Obidi said, there's nothing special about her except her education, and all this modern education doesn't do women any good, it makes them too proud. More whiskey flowed. At last the 3 men prepared to leave. By morning, they said, we shall know if she is a virgin or not. She is a virgin, said Okonkwo. Nobody has touched her. You must bring me a big pot full of wine. That was the tradition. If a bride was a virgin, her new family had to bring her father wine. If she was not a virgin, they brought an empty pot. Meanwhile, Enina Indio had found out where his sister was. He went to his only friend, the only person who would never harm his sister. Then he went home and told Ma Blackie. Chike will save her, he told her. But they both wondered how Chike could do that. Chapter 10. The Escape. Okuinine was carried into her new home, and the women laid her on a bed. How smooth her body is, they cried. How soft her hands are. When she became conscious again, Akaboshi's mother greeted her warmly. Don't worry, we'll send a message to your mother. You're in good hands. My husband decided to kidnap you for our boy because of that slave Chike. No girl from a good family like yours could possibly marry a slave. Oh no, repeated the other women. Never? They showed Akuinine a pile of new clothes. Look, they said. All these are for you. They took off her short dancing skirt and tied a new skirt round her waist. Then they took her into a room with a new, colorfully painted bed. For you and Akaboshi, they explained. They saw the fear and dislike on her face and laughed. Don't worry, said Akaboshi's mother. He'll be gentle with you, you may even like it, lots of girls do. The others laughed. They were very pleased with their new bride. But the bride herself was silent and trembling with fear. What's the matter? Demanded Akaboshi's eldest sister. Doesn't she like us? Be quiet, said her mother. No girl likes to be kidnapped. Go and join in the celebrations. Soon most of them left. But many visitors came to see the new bride. The men outside went on drinking whiskey and firing guns for a long time. Akuinine was stiff and tired, but she would not lie down. I'll die before I lie on that bed, she thought. Akaboshi's sister brought her some water. Would you like to wash? She asked her. No, thank you, said Akuenene, but I need the toilet. I will show you. Now remember, don't make it hard for Akaboshi. If you do, he'll call for help, then the men will come in and hold you down. That's the custom. If that happens to me, thought Akuenene, I'll kill myself. Then, on the way to the toilet, she heard a whistle. It was Chike's special song. So he knew, and was near. But she could not get away, because Akaboshi's sister was watching her. She was led back to the hut like a prisoner. She lay down on the bed with her face to the wall, and shut her eyes. After a troubled sleep, she woke with the feeling that someone was watching her. As she opened her eyes, she saw Akaboshi. He was smiling a cruel, unfriendly smile, and he smelt of whiskey. Suddenly, Akuenene realized how much he hated her. He tried to touch her, but she fought like a wild animal. I'm on my own, she thought. No one can help me. I must look after myself. Akaboshi laughed and hit her in the mouth. Then he was on top of her. She kicked and scratched, but he was too strong for her. Then suddenly an idea came to her. She laughed like a mad woman and shouted at him. Look at you, Akaboshi. Am I the only bride you can get the girlfriend of a slave? Akaboshi let her go. Continued. You think I am a virgin. I tell you, a better man has been here before you. I have slept with him many, many times. That afternoon in school, when you and your friends made me cry, that was our first time. But it didn't do my schoolwork any harm, did it? You failed your examination, but I passed. Akaboshi stood up. His mouth hung open. He looked at her as a man looks at a poisonous insect. She went on and on. Even if you do sleep with me tonight, what then? If I have a child, how can you be sure that the child is yours? And believe me, I shall tell everyone in the village. But you were unclean until 2 days ago. Your mother said so. Oh yes, that's true. But today, I heard my examination results. We celebrated my success together. She said to herself, have I gone too far? What if his people have been watching me all day? Then they'll know that I'm lying. Akaboshi hit her across the face with all his strength. You dirty animal, he shouted. Do you think I want to touch you now, slave girl? He hit her again. I never really wanted you anyway. My father helped me to kidnap you because he hated Ofiulu, your slave lover's father. But just wait, soon I shall marry the girl of my choice, and you will fetch and carry for her. Now get out of my bed. He hit her once more. She fell onto the floor and lost consciousness. When she woke, it was almost morning. Akaboshi was asleep in the bridal bed. She ached all over. Just then Akaboshi woke and gave a cruel laugh. You'll have a busy day today, my educated bride. Go and find a gourd to take to the stream. The older woman will ask you what happened. You'll have to tell them your story yourself. My father and I will go to your parents with an empty wine pot. Then the whole village will know about you and your slave lover. Ugly ran out of the hut, almost into the arms of Akaboshi's mother and sister. Akaboshi then came out and, with hate in his voice, he told them what Akuenene had said the night before. So now you are a slave too? Well, the water gourds are there, Akaboshi's mother said coldly. As Akui bent to pick up a gourd, Akaboshi's sister spoke. Mother, have you got an old skirt for this slave girl? I need this one. She tore the new skirt off Akuena's body. Her mother produced a dirty, torn skirt and stood there, while Akuenene tied it around her waist. Then Akuenene went to fetch the water, while everyone laughed and pointed. Her whole face was stiff and sore, and she moved like an old woman. This is the end, she thought. Now Chike will turn me away too. Akaboshi did not cut a piece of my hair last night, Why should he? I am worthless. I can run away if I want to, but where can I go? My uncle will kill me if I go home, but I'll die if I stay here. And when I die they will say, there, I told you so, she broke our laws, and now she is dead. All that morning, Okuenene was a prisoner in the hut of Akaboshi's mother. They gave her some cooked yam, but she could not eat it because her mouth was too sore and swollen. At noon she heard a voice outside the hut. It was Enene and Indio. Akaboshi's mother let him see his sister alone. He brought her words of comfort and a letter from Chike, which she read eagerly. Dearest, it said, I will whistle after dark. When you go to the toilet, I love you, Chike. She gave the letter back to Enene and Indio, who hid it inside his shirt just before Akaboshi marched into the room. So you have come to visit this slave girl, he said. He raised his hand and moved towards Okuenene. If you touch my sister, I'll kill you, shouted Enene and Indio. He picked up a heavy pot. When Akaboshi's mother heard the shouting, she rushed in, took the pot from Enene and Indio, and ordered him and her son to leave. Tears of anger poured down Enene and Indio's face as he left the hut. Akaboshi's mother turned to Okuenene. Go to Akaboshi tonight, she said. Soon, perhaps, he will forgive you and take you into his bed. Many good marriages start unhappily. She was unexpectedly kind, and for a moment Okuenene wanted to tell her the truth. But she remembered Chike's letter. I will go to him, she said. Let me wash and go to the toilet first. As Okuenene walked to the toilet, she suddenly heard Chike's whistle. There was a movement in the long grass, and before she knew what was happening, she was in Chike's arms. Then she heard his voice, low and urgent. Come on, my love, run. His warm body seemed to breathe new life into her. She ran. When she could no longer run, she walked. It was only 7 miles from Ibiza to Asaba, but it took them nearly 4 hours. At last they reached a house. Our driver lives here, said Chike. He'll take us to Ugheli in the morning. But Okuenene was already asleep in Chike's arms. 2. Grammar page.